right. Hello, friends, and welcome to Data Driven Sim Racing. Today is January the 7th. Para mis amigos puertorriqueños, espero que hayan tenido un feliz Día de los Reyes ayer y que la hayan pasado muy bien con sus familias. Muchas felicidades a todos. So, why am I here today? Well, it's because all week I've been thinking of a new strategy for data-driven sim racing and the reports that I've been writing throughout this segment. And normally what I do is I take two sessions or multiple sessions and put them into their own reports, and I have to kind of flip back and forth between the reports I make to see my actual progress. But the reality is, part of what I do professionally is I place the same target over different segments to see how they compare, but in the same report, so that consumers of my reports don't have to flip back and forth between different reports to see how things track over time. And so I thought, why not put that into the reports I'm writing with the Sim Racing Telemetry data that I'm getting? So let's take a look at what that entails. During my last session, or one of my last sessions, I created this report, or this page I added to the existing report. And what I did was I showed and displayed the data as it sits for that particular session. This, if you look at the title of this report, is a standard setup session. But then to see the actual GoSetups session, I have to flip to another report entirely. And I don't want folks, or even really myself, to have to flip back and forth between reports. So instead, what I want to do is I want to overlay the two sessions on top of each other so that in one place you can actually see how a particular setup improved or actually made worse the lap times. So first and foremost, what I'm going to do is run two sessions around the Nurburgring. The first one's going to be with a standard setup, and the second one is going to be with a GoSetups setup. And I'm going to use Sim Racing Telemetry the whole time. So let's get that started. Here I have Sim Racing Telemetry pulled up, which as always, you can download from the Steam store, or you can get this on your mobile device and have it track your PC as well. So I'm going to pull up Assetto Corsa Competizione, which is the game we'll be in today. And I'm going to record a new session. Here you can see some past sessions that I had, just testing everything out and making sure it works. So we're going to record a new session and we'll hit start, and it's already waiting for some input. So we're going to hop into the game, and again, we're going to run one session, maybe about 5 laps in the Nurburgring with the standard setup, and then we'll run 5 more laps. Hopefully we can get some good laps. When I was trying this, I'm very new to the Nurburgring in this game, so I'm trying my best to get the best lap times I can, but it's a little rough. We're gonna run a second session with GoSetups, and then we're gonna hop back into Power BI and compare the two sessions overlaid on top of each other instead of having to flip back and forth. Hopefully what this does is it allows us to have one report for everything so that we don't have to flip back and forth, and it's just a lot less work overall when we go into our future sessions where we just update the data. We won't have to update it 2 or 3 times. So let's jump right in. First though, I fixed my overlays, which means I can now finally, for some reason it wasn't showing up before, but now I can run my my alerts. So just want to take a second to thank Nick C Live, who followed a couple days ago, and everyone on YouTube who has subscribed on YouTube. Really appreciate you, and I'm glad you're enjoying the content, and hopefully I can make some more great content for you to enjoy starting now. So let's jump right into ACC, and let's make sure we log some sessions so that we can use them in our reports. Okay, so Nurburgring. Let's go ahead and get started. Today we will be racing, as always, the Porsche 911 GT3R. We're just going to do some hot laps and try to get some good times. These are 2-minute laps, 2 or so minute laps. So hopefully I'll do about 5 laps per setup, and that should be enough to see some progress. So let's get started. All right, so first we're going to load our setup, and we're going to make sure that we're using the standard setup, which is all the way down here. I saved the current setup, which is basically just the stock setup, and we're going to load that so we can see standard setup at the very top, and that means we are good to go. Let's give it a shot.
Green light, go, go, go.
Okay, so I'm not even rusty on the Nurburgring. I'm just not used to it. It's not a track I do a lot, so we'll do our best here. Alright, so our first lap's going to be a warm-up lap. Not really going for much here. I am trying to find my line around the first corner. Haven't really found a good one yet. This apex is just really hard to hit for me. I'm not very confident around this corner either. Overall, the track is just very new to me and hard to get right.
See right front locking into turn 6. You're locking your right front into turn 7.
Oh, no. I am late on the throttle there in that corner. Overall, just not doing too well this lap, but hopefully I can just use it as a warm-up lap and get better. Okay, so we're gonna try a hot lap or a flying lap here.
That was a 205.48.
That apex is just impossible for me. And this is just such a long corner.
Right front going into turn 1.
Down into first. Gonna cruise through this corner here and hold it together. This is just one of the corners that I just do not know how to take. I'm shooting for around 2 minutes here. Not sure if I'll be able to obtain it, but we'll see. Just gonna cruise through these two. Alright, so that's a 204.
Pace is good in sectors 1 and 2. Sector 3 is a 10th off your best.
Again, this corner is just almost impossible for me to take. And this corner is so much longer than it seems that I don't really know when to get on the throttle. That was way too wide.
Sector 1 time's okay.
If anyone has any tips for the Nurburgring, based on what you're seeing, I would highly appreciate it. Other than, you know, stay on the road. That one I know myself, but can't seem to follow it.
Sector 2 is a 10th off your best. That lap was a
203.
37. That's your quickest lap. Sectors 1 and 3 are looking quick. Sector 2 is 1/10 off your best.
That first corner, I don't know. It's just not working out. Ooh, almost lost it.
Seeing right front blocking into turn 6. Sector 1 is a 10th off your pace.
This corner here, I'm trying to experiment as well. Just can't seem to get it right. That's a little better than last lap for sure, but... And I might be outside. Nope, kept it in. Gonna try to stay off the curb at this chicane here. We'll see if that works out for us.
Sector 2 time is good.
Well, seemed to work, but I also didn't stay off the curb. That's braking way too hard, but seems we made progress anyway. That's a 202.
2.78. That's your best lap in the session. Sector 1 is a 10th off your best. Sector 2 time is quick. Sector 3 is 2/10 off your best.
That was cutting, I think. Nope, looks like it wasn't, but Still not very good. Trying to use the most amount of track that I can.
Sector 1's quick.
It's good to know. Oh. Way too wide. Just barely hanging on to fastest time here. Ooh, that was a bit bumpy.
0.30 off your best.
It's just very slow around that last corner.
Your last lap time
Still
was
2:02, but even faster.
That's your quickest lap in this session. Sectors 1 and 3 are good. Sector 2 is 0.30, slower than your best.
Oh, that's not happening. No, lap 5, my very last one.
Okay, Andreas, we need to watch these track limits.
Yep,
You're
thank
looking
you.
right front going into
Let's go ahead and complete this lap anyway. Sounds like we've hit an invalid lap for our data. So I can use that as an excuse to say I meant to do that. That is me up there, by the way. The green and red with my GoSetups setup. That's the fastest lap that I've been able to put in, which I think was a 2:01. So that's what I'll be trying to beat. You know, if I can keep it on the road. Nope, don't do that. Luckily that lap was invalid already, so it's not like I ruined anything. I have to find a better line around that. Okay, 2:08 for that one. And let's pull over. And we need to quit. Do we need a replay for that? Yeah. Let's grab a replay, just in case. And now I can't. There we go. I am sure. And we'll go ahead and quit so that it finishes the session. And let's hop back out to Sim Racing Telemetry. Here's our data. It's been collecting it the whole time, and that's great. I'm going to hit stop. And now we have our latest session here on January 7th. We're going to start another session to record our data with the GoSetups. So we'll hop right back in to ACC. We'll start a session. tighten up my wheel here. Hopefully that holds throughout the whole session. And let's go ahead and load our mouse is not doing too well right now, so I'm gonna try our best to use it. I don't know where it is. I'm not sure if it's this keyboard or if it's the game. Hopefully we don't start skipping frames or anything. All right, so the setup we're going to use is a S setup, so a safe setup as deemed by the folks at GoSetups. So this is a safe one with qualifying fuel. That just means that it's a very small amount of fuel to make the car a lot lighter. So we're going to load that. This Q02 is just a second iteration of their setup, so we'll load that and then let's hop right back in, see if we can get some faster times than what we just did. I think our best there was a 2:02, so we'll try to see if we can beat it and get closer to under 2 minutes if possible. If not, then at least 2 minutes, hopefully, or at most 2 minutes. We want a smaller lap time. All right, let's head in.
Green light. Go, go, go.
All right, and we'll have a nice cruising out lap here. Just getting a feel for the changes in the car. Trying to get some confidence. Already it feels just so much tighter, so much easier to handle. If you haven't experimented with custom setups, I highly recommend it. Whether you go free or you go paid, as long as it's better than the factory setup, it'll be well worth it. They're very easy to install, very easy to adapt to. Highly recommend. Oh. Maybe that's something I need to get used to. But the car feels a lot better, I will say that. Just gonna have to get used to this new setup, that's all. Yeah, applying the brake just kind of makes the car rotate a lot more. Alright, let's, I'm glad we're enjoying this out lap. Hopefully I can get it a little bit more serious for the hot laps. Alright, let's try a flying lap now. As I barely make it through this corner. Brake at the 100. That's a no. Use the brake to rotate the car a little bit. And I'm already behind my fastest lap. Try to stay in third gear. Bit too twitchy. Okay, that is our fastest lap so far.
Sector 2 is a tenth off your best.
See if we can make it slightly better. Oh, that's way too tight. Stay in third here. Bring the car around. Gotta stay off the curb. Stay in third gear here. We are half a second up on our fastest lap so far this session, but definitely not on our fastest lap overall. Let's see how we do now.
That lap time was
2:01.
2:01.40.
It's also better than our quickest.
Sectors 1 and 3 are good. Sector 2 is a tenth off your best.
I know I have to be doing something wrong at that first corner. Ooh, way too wide. Hop into third. Too wide here too. We gonna be able to make the rotation? I guess so. Lost a lot of ground there though. Maybe we can make up for it. We are making up some ground, and that's good. Just trying to get to the 2-minute mark if we can. No! Oh, man. We almost had a much better lap. I think we were about to reach the 2-minute mark and bam. Last corner. Let's see if we can do something. Nah, definitely not this lap, right? Maybe I can practice turn 1 here. And turn 2. I think turn 2 needs a lot of work. Maybe all turns need a lot of work. Ooh, not very good. Just trying my best right now to keep it inside the lines.
Sector 1 is 1.5, off your best.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Ooh, too much rotation. Is that a third gear corner? I don't know. I seem to take it in third gear, but I don't think it's a third gear corner. No. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Okay. Gotta do my best to get a good start here. This is our last lap. Already off to a bad start, but we'll see how this lap goes. And we hit the 2 minutes. So far, so good. I am way too soft on the throttle right now, and it's costing me time. There goes all my advantage. See if we can get anything back here. Oh, stay off the curb. Alright, we're going to try to dive into this next corner. See if we can get some time back there. Okay, we got a couple tenths. Half a second, almost. No, come on. Keep it together. Keep it together. Let's try to get some time back here. We lost it all. We lost it all. Well, no! Joy 1. It's the best we can do for now. Alright, let's head out.
Sectors 1 and 2 are fast. Sector 3 is 0.7, off your best.
It sure is. It sure is. Thanks very much for that, Jim. All right, so we are going to grab our replay again. Save that, and then head out. We're going to quit off to the main screen. And let's head over. Let's see, Power BI needs all the memory, and I think we have everything we need from it so far. So we'll try to run a couple reports. If things get too laggy, then we'll quit ACC, but for now, let's go ahead and keep it on. All right, so let's head into our data. We just stopped our session at the Nurburgring, and we have 2 January 7th sessions, which are the ones that we want. We can see here our fastest time here was a 2:02, 2:02.3 for, was this with the Go setup or nope, this was with the standard setup. And with the Go setup, our fastest time was a 2:01, 2:01.3. Hopefully I can break into the 2 minutes, but looks like for these 2 sessions I wasn't able to. So we're going to go ahead and go into the standard setup session, and we're going to hit the export button at the top right and export it to CSV. We're going to wait for the prompt. And there we are. Now we're going to name this ACC Nurburgring Hotlap with the standard setup, and today is the 7th. You can see that I did a couple sessions yesterday. Those didn't work out super well, but hopefully today's will. All right, so that's the 7th saved with the standard setup. Now we're going to go back in, go to the Go Setup session, hit the export button on the top right, export to CSV. Wait for the prompt. And we're going to do the same thing, steal one from the Go setup. I already had a Go setup from yesterday, so I'm just going to change the date to today. Save that. All right, and the good thing is I can kind of keep this open because the metrics that are provided with the native Sim Racing Telemetry app, they're actually really good. They have tons of charts here available for you to browse your data with. They have all sorts of stats available as well. And the great thing is, even if you're going off to Power BI land or Tableau land, if that's what you prefer, you can still use the metrics that they show to compare against your reports and see if you have the correct metrics displayed on your side, if you interpreted your data correctly on your side. That's super cool and a huge benefit to have for your validation of the data that you're writing to your reports. So I'm going to keep that one open, and let's hop right back into Power BI. Okay, let's pull one up. Okay, so this is a Hotlap session that I had recorded sometime last week, I want to say. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to save it. This report has all the new additions I made. So the standard summary, the temperatures and G-forces, along with the acceleration or throttle. And here we have the lap times, which is the very last addition that we made to our report. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this as a template. So I'll hit save as, and I will rename this to Nurburgring. As the track, it's a hot lap. And here, instead of standard setup, remember, as I said earlier in the video, what we're going to do is we're actually going to combine both setup sessions so that we can compare them against each other. What I want to do is compare the setups. So we're just going to call this compare or setup compare instead of the setup analysis we have over here. Setup compare. And another thing I want to do is, as I'm deploying these out to Power BI, I'm going to go back to my workspace for data-driven sim racing here. There's going to be a lot of reports. So now I'm going to want to make sure that I know which game I'm using. Here's AMS2 and I did that correct. But here we have SRT for Sim Racing Telemetry. ACC was the only game I was using it for up until the release of AMS2 on their side, which I think happened late December, if I'm not mistaken. So what I'm going to do is actually add ACC to the title of the report so I know what game I'm in. So let's do that now. We're going to say ACC-SRT for Sim Racing Telemetry, Porsche 911, Nurburgring, etc., etc. Whatever naming scheme you decide to use, that's all well and good. This is just the one I prefer, so I can identify the reports. What I would say is, when you go publish these reports, look how long they are. They're kind of dragging on, and Power BI is not really letting me make this column too much bigger. It kind of stops here. So it is something you want to keep in mind when you're naming your reports. Are they too big to show here? And it looks like mine is a little bit. So that's something to consider. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this report. And we wait for the top to display the new name we did. That means we're in that file. Okay, so we have our report. And again, this is all well and good by itself, but the problem is it only has one setup type and we want to compare both. So let's do that. What we're going to do is we're going to clean up this data set first, which is a prior standard setup, and we're going to replace it with our GoSetups Setup. Or we're going to replace it with the latest setup that we have, which is right now this is displaying Laguna Seca data, which is a session that we did prior. We're going to display Nurburgring data instead. So to do that, we right-clicked on the data set. Let's do that again because I missed that step. Right-click, we click Edit Query. And then instead of this current file, when we go to the applied steps and click on Source, you'll see this is an old setup that I have. I'm going to find the latest standard setup. So I'm looking for that in my directory. And I'm just going to sort by date modified. I'm going to copy the name of the file. I'm doing that off screen, but just copy the name of the file. As long as you keep it in the same directory, you should be okay. If I need some space, I'll just go ahead and expand this little formula bar and I'll keep that. So I'm going to delete this and I'm going to paste a new name. And I'm just going to click the checkbox or hit enter, either one of the two. And now we can see that our data already changed to be Nurburgring, and that's good. So we're going to click promoted headers and make sure that the column names came up. And now that that's done, what I'm going to do is change the name of the data set to Nurburgring. And then we're going to go all the way to the end, make sure Hotlaps standard setup, and then change the date to today, 2024-01-07. Hit enter, and then you click close apply. And now everything changes. As soon as the data gets loaded, everything will change. There we are. We see that we had 7 laps. One of them was the out lap, so it didn't count. Yeah, one of them was the out lap, so it didn't count. So now, something that I've been seeing lately with this ACC data is that there's a bunch of just extra columns at the end. I think that was just from the way I imported the data initially to this report, so I want to clean that up as well. What I'm going to do is right click and edit query. Then I'm going to scroll all the way to the end, and we should see those empty columns. There they are. I scanned all of the data here. It's just empty stuff. It usually happens when you have a CSV that just has less columns for some weird reason than maybe a preceding CSV did. So what I'm going to do is highlight that first one, then I'll go all the way to the end, hold shift down, highlight the last one, right click and say remove columns. And there we go. Now we have a cleaner data set. We'll see the remove columns step here, which we can add. And if for some reason that doesn't work out for you, or there's some error in the file, you can always just click X on here and it'll revert that step so you don't have to start all over again. You can just kind of undo what you did. All right, so we're going to click close and apply. We'll wait for the data to reload. And now we can see that our first column or our first field here is the ABS field, which is great. That means all of those excess columns are gone. So the very next step, we're going to save that really quick because we don't want to lose our work. The very next step here is going to be to get the GoSetups data into this same report, not in a new report, just in the same report. And that'll allow us to compare different setups at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Get Data at the top left. Then I'm going to click Text and CSV. And you may recognize this step from when we first did our reports together. That was the initial time. Since then, I've just been updating the data sets with the latest data, but now I just want to add a brand new data set to this report. So we're going to click here, Date Modified, to make sure we have our latest setups at top. Go Setup. That's the one we want to add because we already have the standard setup. So we'll click Open. Then it's going to pop up a screen where it previews the data and just kind of asks us, hey, are you okay with what you see? Is everything looking good? And if so, you just click Load. Sim Racing Telemetry has made it possible for Power BI to recognize these files automatically, so I have not had to do any modifications to them. The delimiter is set as tab, everything looks good. I'm going to click Load. And everything is loaded. So now you can see if I collapse both of these, now you can see that we have two setups. They're two different setups now. And one thing I see is that this one's called Porsche 911 GT3R, while this one's just called 911 GT3R. I'm going to quickly rename this to be just 911 GT3R so that they kind of match in name. We're going to close and apply. It's going to refresh some stuff and we'll be good. Okay, now how do we put them to good use? Well, let's make a new page in our report. And let's just start bringing this data in to compare it side by side. So let's bring in things like the lap number. If I learn how to spell the lap. If I search for the field, I should be able to find lap number. That's not the one I want. Okay, here's the start of our problems. Our standard setup has lap number actual, which is a custom column that we created. If you look, that lap number is not available in our brand new data set that we just imported. So when I bring in lap number actual and I make that a grid, I'm going to right click here in the sum and just say don't summarize. So now we have all of our laps for the standard setup, because we can see here that the one that checked is the STD setup or standard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mental note for myself, or actually a visual note, to say standard is here on the left. And again, our Go setup is here on the right. That's just going to help me from a visual perspective keep track of where I am, because the columns, the goal here is to name the columns identical in both data sets. So what we'll do is we'll grab the lap number actual formula and we're going to copy that over to our new data set. Hit copy, and then we're going to add this as a column. We can see here that this little graphic indicates that this is a custom column and not a measure. The measure one just looks like a little calculator. So I'll right click on this data set up here. I'll say new column. And we'll paste. But that's not all. This is still using the standard setup. We want to change this to Go Setup so that it actually recognizes the column we want. And there we are. Now we can add it, and now it shows up, and we can drag it right here next to it, not inside the same visual. We can't do that yet. So we're just going to change this to be a grid. We're going to right click on the sum, say don't summarize, and now we have our laps. Let's make sure, because I don't remember doing 7 laps on the other one. So let's just make sure that this source is indeed the, yep, it is the standard setup. I'll close that, and I'll make sure this one is the Go setup. Just check on the source, make sure the file, yep, it's the GoSetups. Okay, so we're okay. So now we have lap number actual. Let's look at some lap times. And again, when we bring up lap time, we have all these custom columns that we did, but we don't have them in the new data set. So we need to build those. We could build this one here, but the problem is this measure, if you can see, it has a little calculator. That means it's a measure. Depends on another measure. We did that last time. So what we need to do instead is find that measure and create that first. So we'll create lap time. There's the measure we need to create in the GoSetups setup or the data set. So we're just going to copy this. We'll remove that. Right click on our GoSetups dataset, which is our new one, and say new measure. Now, when we try to create the same exact one after changing it to GoSetup, if you try to create the same exact measure, because measures are global to your report, it's not going to let you. It's going to say that that measure already exists, and it's going to tell you to rename it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to add std to the end, and that'll be the standard. There we are. Now, or that'll be the Go setup. Yeah, that'll be the Go setup. Okay, so now that we have that one, now we can go ahead and create our MMSS, call our measure. So we will copy the formula for that, right click on new measure here in this GoSetups data set, paste it, and the only thing we need to change are 2 things. Number 1, we need to rename this to be standard. And number 2, we have to use the standard lap time max milliseconds. If you remember correctly, this is the measure that converts the seconds into milliseconds for your lap time, because the Sim Racing Telemetry standard setup comes with the data outputting the lap times as seconds. So we need to first change them to milliseconds, and then we change them to like a standard minute, second. Let's look at what that looks like right now. We're just going to go ahead and create these. And now we have our standard data on the left. We have our GoSetups data on the right. So from our standard setup, we're going to bring in our lap time right into that grid. And you can see our lap times right here. And we're going to do the same thing for the GoSetups setup. However, we need to bring it from the GoSetup data set. So we'll bring that in. Okay. And now we can see them side by side. That's cool. And that's already a good advantage, right? If I wanted to, I could take this and make little charts out of them. So if I copy this grid and just kind of paste it again over itself, I can then turn this into a line graph. And when I move the x-axis to lap number and I change the lap time minute seconds here, nothing shows up. That's because it's text. The MMSS here, this is actually text, not a number. So to actually bring it in, what I need is the lap time in, let's see, I think it's lap time without an underscore. There it is. Lap time max MS, that's in milliseconds. Here's the standard setup, so I'm going to drag it into the standard setup area. Or my mouse lost it, so let's try that again. I'm going to drag it into this table. And now we can see it here. Let's also drag it into our line. Here it is, the standard one. We're going to drag it into the y-axis, and there we go. We can see it right here. What does that mean? Milliseconds? Not much, right? So we're going to do the same thing for our GoSetups area, we'll make this a line graph. And now we're going to drag in our milliseconds time into the y-axis. And we have it. We can see that one of them is smaller, right? These are pretty consistent at 204. When we hover over them, that's the only time you can actually see the lap times. Even if I add data labels here, so let's go ahead and add data labels. That's just showing me 125,000 milliseconds, and I'm okay at math, but it's just not easy to see what's going on. So what if we could actually convert these into easy to read minutes and seconds, just like this grid up top? Well, the great thing is we can, due to a recent addition that Power BI just made, you can actually apply custom data labels. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the visualization area for that line graph. We're going to go down to the data labels area, and we're going to choose the series we want to apply this to, which is all. There's only one series in the y-axis, so you can apply this to everything. Then we're going to expand the values section. And you see down here, there's something called custom label. What we're going to do is we're going to turn that on, and we'll see that our labels are now blank. So up here, I'm going to search for MMSS. And here you can see MMSS is already in this visual, but it's in the tooltips. What I want to do is drag it. And again, from the standard setup, I want to drag it into these custom labels. Let's try that again. Nope, my mouse is like not letting me. Come on. There we are. And now here are the custom labels. You can see 205, 204, 203, 202, 2023, and then back up to 208 because I probably messed up a corner. Let's do the same for our GoSetups setup, which we can do by remaining here in the values area, turning on the custom label, and dragging in the MMSS lap times. And you can see 201 here, which we never made with our standard setup. We did make it with our GoSetups setup. That's great. But even this is not really what we want to do. We want to put these together in the same graph. But that's kind of dangerous because Power BI doesn't know what the relationship is between the two. So let's just try to do it and we'll see what happens. So here's our standard setup grid. I think the music might be a little bit too loud. We'll lower it a little bit. There we go. Here's our standard setup grid. We're going to go ahead and try to add the GoSetups time over here. Let's drag it into the grid. And look what happens. It's just the same time over and over again. The reason for this is because there is no relationship between the two data sets. So Power BI just tries to kind of make sense of it all, and it says, I'll give you one of them. I'll give you one of the values and display that across. It's kind of in what in SQL or in database land we refer to as a Cartesian join. It just joins every record for every record and just says, this is what you wanted. You established no relationship between the two. So that's it. So we could go to our model view here and simply use the lap numbers to relate to each other. So I'm going to search in the L section. Here's the lap number actual. And here's the lap number actual as well. We could relate both of these together, but that poses a problem. When you do that, one of these might be the master record, and so if one of the data sets has 15 laps and the other one has 10, it may only show 10 laps, or it may only show 2 laps if one of the records has, or if one of the data sets has only 2 laps. So instead, what we're just going to do is create almost like a bridge table in between the two. That's known as a bridge table, a link table, just plenty of different names that people have for them. I like to call them linking tables, relationship tables, whichever one you want. So let's go ahead and create it. We're going to create it two different ways. Just depending on what your preference is, you can choose one of these two ways, and that's absolutely fine. So what we'll do is we'll take these and expand them so I know which data set is which. So let's do that first. There's the Go setup and there's the standard setup. And now we'll create our linking table between the two. What we're going to do for our first method is just to create a new table right here. Actually, what we're going to do is enter the data. So let's enter the data. When we click that button up at the very top, you're just greeted with a create table. Now here you can rename your column. Let's name it lap number. And we'll name the table link lap number. Hit OK, and a new table is going to be created. But it has no data in it. So what we're going to do is right click, and you can do this while you're creating it. We're going to right click, we're going to edit, and then we're going to go back to the source. And I believe it is advanced editor. No, that's the M query. I don't like that. Oh, right here, the little gear configuration next to source. We're going to change this right here. I think we can edit it. And we're just going to manually put in some laps. Let's say 10 laps. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Both of our data sets have 7 laps, so this 10 should cover everything. And then we'll make sure that this is a number. See, it's a type text. We're going to say type is, how do we do that? Transform, maybe? Format. No. Data type. Man, it's somewhere around here. Split column. No. Advanced editor. Depending on the view, Power BI has everything in like completely different columns. View? Thought it'd be in transform. We can do this outside if I can't find it now. Oh, data type. Data type, whole number. Lap numbers are whole numbers, so we're okay. Replace the current. So there we go. It created a int64, which is a large integer type conversion, and we are good to go. Now we know these lap numbers are indeed numbers. Great. So it created our table, but there's another way to do this, and this way you should definitely use if you have a lot of records. So if you have something like 100 laps or 1,000 laps, you don't want to be typing those laps in manually. What you can do instead is you can say new table, and the table will say link lap number. We'll say underscore GS in our name equals generate series. And you can see that the tutorial for generate series, the mini tutorial here or tooltip pops up here. IntelliSense, I guess, tooltip, whichever one, pops up here, and you want the start value is 0. The end value is, let's say, 15 for this one, and the increment value is by 1. So you're saying, hey, Power BI, I'd like a table with a bunch of numbers. I want it to start at 0, I want it to end at 15, and I want it to increment by 1. Click the checkbox, and what you'll see here, if we go to the table view, is we'll see for this data set with the GS, it's 0 through 15. Now, something I just noticed, which I need to fix, is that the one we entered manually, it only has 1 through 10. That's going to be a little incorrect here if we use that one. So we'll edit the query. Oh, there's my mouse freezing again. Super. Okay, and I think we can change the source by clicking this little gear, and we'll add 0. hopefully we can... Nope, I don't want the row 12 because that's a blank value. I'll delete that. There we are. Hit OK. Now we have the 0 down here. Hopefully that doesn't cause too much of an issue. Can I like insert this up here at the top? We can sort, right? Sort, ascending. Yeah, I want to sort them. Okay. Why are these all text? The 10 being right after the 1 indicates that it's 10. So what happens when we click change type here? 0, 1, 10. Let's make sure that this step occurs after this one. And to do that, we can just drag it down, hopefully. And 0's last. Okay, it looks like it's just not happening. So let's see how it works out for us. Let's hit close and apply. Because the important step... There we go. Now it looks good. The important step is actually to use this table to link the two data sets together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take from standard setup, we're going to take the lap number actual and drag it into this lap number. It'll create a relationship between the two tables. And then we create another relationship from the GoSetups to the lap number as well. And so now we have a bridge, junction, relationship, whatever you want to call it. And the cool thing about this is that the lap number, when you use it from the link table, is always constant. It always shows up regardless of whether or not there's a record on either side. And that's what we want. So now that the relationship has been established, let's go back to our report and try everything again. What we're going to do is we're going to take our standard grid and we're going to try to go add this minute second again. And you can see nothing has changed. All that work we did, what happened? Well, the problem is this lap number actual only belongs to the standard setup. And it's not relative to both. What we need to do is remove this lap number actual and replace it with our new datasets number. We're going to open up link lap number, which is the one that we actually use to link. We're going to drag the lap number in. And we're going to remove the one from the standard setup. And now we can see that the two datasets are now comparing against each other right here. And that's great to see. That is great to see right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually replace these two grids with one singular, or sorry, these two line charts, we'll replace them with one singular one. And here's what that looks like. We're just going to pop these up right here, get them out of the way. Let's make this one a little bit smaller and have it be right next to it. Let's get some space, There we are. Shrink this a bit. And make this one smaller too. Get it out of the way. And we'll copy our existing one and bring it back down. Now, the interesting thing here is that we want to change this x-axis, or if we go to the visual area, we want to change this x-axis to, instead of being from the standard setup, we're going to make it from the lap number setup, or the lap number data set instead. So when we remove the standard lap number and replace it with the lap number from our link table, nothing really changes because we don't have both setups in the same grid. But if we double click on this one and rename it to standard setup, so lap time STD, and we'll rename this tooltip as well, lap time STD. And now we can go ahead and open our GoSetups and get our MMSS, drag it into the y-axis, or sorry, drag it into the tooltips here, and we'll get our standard lap time in milliseconds and put that into the y-axis. And here we are. We can now see both lap times in the same exact grid overlaid against each other. This looks a little messy, so I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. The first thing I'm going to do is rename this lap time here to the go. So I'll say lap time, go. And down here as well in the tooltips, lap time, go, for go setups. But then I also want to change the colors of the lines. I want to make sure that the colors of the lines we can also use to easily determine which setup we're talking about. So we'll go to the visual itself, we'll go to the formatting, and we'll go to the lines area. Now, here it's very interesting because we want to apply it to a particular series, not to all of them. What we want to do is we'll take the lap time STD and let's make that, I don't know, what color should we pick here? We'll make it, let's see, orange. And then let's also make it kind of dashed, so we know that our lap time, our dashed lap time is the standard one and the orange one. And let's do another color for the go setup. When we pick go setup, can we make this dotted? Is it too, nah, it's kind of too close, right? So we'll leave it solid. Yeah, we'll leave it solid. And then we'll make this a little bit smaller. And we'll change this color to purple. Does it need to be darker? Probably. There we are. So now we can see here that our purple is the go setup. But something looks a little bit strange here. Something looks a little strange. Why is it showing the same exact lap time for both? That's because the label, the custom label that we added earlier, needs to be changed. If you go to data labels and you go to lap time go, we want our values to still have a custom label, but we want to change it. We want to change it to MMSS from the GoSetups Setup dataset. And now we can see everything changes. Our GoSetups Setup is now showing the correct lap time. So the 201 here is the one that we want to see, 201 here as well. But still doesn't look perfect. What can we do to help us identify which lap time is for which one? Well, what if we made these tooltips or these lap times that are showing up, what if we change them to be the same color as the line? Let's do that. So we're going to stay in the data labels area, and we're currently on the lap time go label or series. So we're going to change that one to be purple. And then we're going to change, let's make it bold as well. There we are. So that stands out a little bit more. Then we're going to go and change the series to standard, and we're going to make that orange. And then we're going to make that bold as well. So now we can see which lap time is which very easily without having to kind of make a determination. So, is there anything else we can do? Maybe the position? Nope. Where is the position for the values? I never remember. Oh, there it is. What if we always have the standard setups be underneath? And if we change this to lap time go, we always have them be above. That way you always know exactly which setup you're looking at. For the go setups, it's always at the top. For the standard setup, it's always at the bottom. That makes things really easy to follow, really easy to read. Now, we need some space over here, and having this be 0.2 million, 0.1 million, that really doesn't do anything for us. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to remove the title from the y-axis. And we can do that by going to the y-axis, removing the title here, and also removing the values in the axis. These tooltips are very self-explanatory. So there's really no need to have this y-axis label. However, down here, yeah, we definitely want to have our lap number be displayed at the bottom in the x-axis. So the x-axis can absolutely stay. Now, if I want to dive in a little bit, I want to be able to do so using the zoom slider. With the zoom slider, I can kind of dive into this middle section here and see it a little bit more closely so that I can see exactly where my deltas are here. And speaking of deltas, what if we could actually see the lap delta between the two? Well, let's go ahead and allocate some space by deleting these two. We don't really need them anymore because we have our combined line chart. So instead, in our combined grid, and technically speaking, we actually don't need this one anymore, but I'll keep it here anyway. This is now a combined data set. What if we could see the delta between these two instead? So what I'm going to do is, because we have the two lap times, or the lap times from both setups, we have them in milliseconds. What if I subtracted 1 millisecond value from the other millisecond value, and that would be the delta in milliseconds, and then we can reconvert that. Now, why would I do it with the milliseconds instead of these two? Well, these two are text values, and so I can't subtract them from each other. I would have to turn them into time first and then subtract them. But what I'm going to do is just subtract the milliseconds instead. So here's what that looks like. We're going to pull up the lap time. And here they are in, nope, that's the text one. Here they are. Here's both of the lap times. These are both measures. So I'm going to right click on the GoSetups. Or actually, since this is a comparison of both, why don't I do it in our both data set, or our constants data set? You could also just create another data set for like measures if you want to, if you want to stay organized. Because this has data from both data sets, I'm just going to do it in a link. I'm going to create a measure. And I'm going to call that measure lap time ms delta, for the delta between the two lap times. So that's going to be equal to lap time ms in the Go setup, which is this one, I think. Yeah. Minus lap time standard. Let's see what happens here. We're just going to drag that in. And we can see that here we have 202 from the 202 for the Go setup, or 204 for the Go setup, 202 from the standard setup. So that's actually more in the Go setup. We have 203 and 201, 201 and 212. Here's where these laps were actually quicker. I'm trying to find that 201 lap time. Here it is right here. Why is the 201 lap time in the standard setup? Nope, that's a Go setup. I don't know why I named that. This is... Oh, that might be a mistake here. STD here. Okay, let's search for this. Lap time. Okay, yeah, this is incorrect right here. This is in the standard one. This is my Go setups. I've been doing that wrong the whole time. Okay, so let's take a quick look at this. This is our Go setups. So we're just gonna rename this to Go. And then we have to find this lap time max ms std, I think. Let's find out. Yeah, this is not the standard setup. Let's make sure that this is correctly identified as the Go setup. So we're going to change the name to Go here. Something might break. Brace myself here. Then we're going to go back to our MMSS and we're going to make sure it's using the Go setup. There it goes. It already renamed it for us, so we're okay. Now, I just want to make sure that that's the one I'm also using in my standard setup. Yep, here's my standard. Here's my go. Standard and go. Okay, so we're still depicting everything correctly. It was just a naming structure that was messed up. Okay, so let's take a look at our lap time ms delta function and make sure we're also subtracting everything correctly. We want our go minus our standard. Oh, just by itself. So now, yeah, this is showing 6,000 or 7,000 milliseconds faster. 7,000 milliseconds is 7 seconds. So we can see 201 plus 7 seconds is 208. Now we're okay. So what we're going to do is turn this into minutes and seconds. Let's do that right now. We're going to go grab our function that converts milliseconds to seconds, which is if I just type in MMSS, we're going to grab it from here. We're going to steal that. And we're going to find our relationship data set, which is right here. We're going to add a new measure. And we're going to call this lap time MMSS delta. And that is going to take the delta measure that we just created. That's all we have to change. Everything else is exactly the same. All right. And now we have our new lap time delta, but readable. And there we are. Now we can see our 9-second delta here. Our, let's see, 157, 15. Well, it looks like this is actually in reverse. It's showing the increase instead of the decrease. So maybe if we change our ms delta function to be the reverse of this instead, we're going to say the ms minus the go. Will that help us? Because really, I don't care if I was slower. I want to see how much faster I was. Yes, there we are. Okay, so reversing this to say ms minus the go allows us to see which ones are faster on the go setup. That's good. That's fantastic. That's exactly what I wanted to see. So, would it be possible to show the deltas per lap time as well? If we take this grid, and let's just recreate it as a new visual. So we're going to pop open a new visual here. This might take a little bit of time to do, but I think it's well worth it. We're going to bring in the lap number again from our link table, not from any of the other ones. From our link table, we have our lap number. And then we're going to say the ms delta is our y-axis. So we can see here, we saved on lap 2. We were what? Is that correct to say? 9 seconds. 2,000 minus 9 seconds on the other one. Where is it? Right here. We were 9 seconds slower on that lap time, and 4 seconds slower. But here we were 6 seconds faster. So this is where we want to see as the fast lap times, the good ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the MMSS delta as a tooltip. And that didn't seem to work. So we're going to go to our data labels, or sorry, yeah, there we go. Our data labels, we'll say minus, here it is right here, 7 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. And we'll add the data labels as custom data labels with the MMSS right here in the values. Custom label, turn that on, and bring this in. There we go. Now we can see the custom label is right here now. So there we are. We can now see that we were 6 seconds faster in lap 6. We were 1 second faster lap 7. We were, I guess lap 0 doesn't really matter. 2 seconds faster here. And that's good. So let's add a constant line. right here in this grid, just so that we can see. I think it's a horizontal line, so x-axis, and value would be 0. Nope. Added it the wrong axis. It's a y-axis constant line, and it would be 0 right here. So we're gonna just make that red and say anything above this line is a better lap time. Anything below it is a worse lap time. I think there's a way to identify by color as well. I don't want to waste too much time here to do that. But if I change the line, can I make the color custom? Nah, it doesn't really look like it. I think maybe if I... Yeah, no, I'm not even going to try it because I'm probably just going to go down the rabbit hole. But I think this constant line is good enough for us to show, hey, here's a better lap time because it's above this. So what we're going to do is we are going to change the color of the delta to maybe something like green. I wanted to make it like green when it's better, red when it's worse, but it looks like I can't really do that. At least not right now. Ooh, actually I can, at least with the tooltips. So let's try that out. We make the tooltips bold, and then we change the color to be based on a field value. Nope, based on a rule. And the rule we want is the delta field in milliseconds. If the value is greater than 0, yeah, if the value is greater than 0 as a number and less than 99999, however many it lets me type, then make it green for good. Hey, you did way better. And if the value, we'll add a new rule, if the value is greater than or equal to negative 99999 as a number, but less than 0, then make it red for worse. I think that's all. I think that's all we need to do. Let's see. Yep, there we are. So now we can see whenever it's better, we have it as green. And maybe we should just make this color kind of gray or something, like the standard line. Let's change the line color to be something kind of chill. That's not bad. Okay, so we'll change it to gray, and then we have a green lap time or a green delta whenever we're doing better, and a red one whenever we're doing worse. And it looks like the math on this is a little off. It looks like it's just trying to count everything all over again, like an hour. But the reality is this is just, we don't really care what this number was. We just want to see where we were better. So we can see here that on average, we were doing better with the Go setup because our lap times our deltas are green. And over here, you can plainly see that that's the case as well, right? There's more purple up here than there is orange, and that's always good as well. So we're gonna go ahead and expand this out. Or actually, we can leave it a little bit. Let's just slide the slider up. And let's see if we can make this visually a little bit better as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of the stuff from our other data sets or our other pages and bring them into copy, and we don't really, should we keep this? Yeah, I guess we can keep it. This one can go away. This standard text box, that can go away. We'll lose that. We will lose this Go Setup one as well. We'll shrink this a bit, bring this over. No, we don't want to sync these because they're actually based on completely different metrics now. So here, what I want to do is remove this filter altogether because it has to do with our other data set. So we won't be doing it there. This imperial and metric data slicer, it doesn't make a lot of sense right now either because we haven't converted anything. And now we're going to bring over this gray banner, paste it here, and then go to our view selection to bring it all the way down in our layers so it shows up at the bottom. There we are. Now, something I'm noticing is that, do we really care about lap 0 and lap 7? If they're not complete laps, do we really want to see them? If they don't exist everywhere, if we don't have records for both, do we really want to see them? So I would say that we only want to see completed laps on both sides. So let's change the grid first, and if it works on the grid, then we'll change it on these graphs. So what I'm going to do is expand the filters for this grid, and I'm going to search for something called is lap completed. That's on the standard side. So on the standard side, is lap completed, I'm going to bring it into the filters, and I'm going to say is Y. And that shows me only those that are completed on one side, but I still need to do that for the other side too. So I'm going to do is copy the formula and add that to my GoSetups dataset as a column. Paste it. And change this to Go. I wonder if that was a column or a measure. We'll find out, I guess, right? Is it going to let me do it? Yeah, looks like it does. So is lap completed? There it is right here. I did notice that our is lap completed is based on the distance of Laguna Seca, which is the last lap, the last track that we use. So we need to change that for the Nurburgring. To find out the max distance, all I need to do is go back to the dataset and open it up for either one. We can see the track length is 5137. So we want to see if it's longer than, let's say, 5100 for our distance. If the distance is longer than 5100, then it's a complete lap. And we'll change it on both of those. 5100. There we are. And then we'll keep this filter so that it's already one from the standard setup. We also want it where it was a complete lap on the GoSetups run as well. So you can do basic filtering, or I could just do my hard-coded filtering, which is Y. Apply that. And now it'll only show records for laps that were completed in both sessions. There we are. So other stuff that I can actually add to this is like average throttle, right? If I wanted to do that really quick, throttle, I can bring it in from GoSetup first. We say average throttle, go. And then change this by right clicking to average. Let's close the filters here because it looks like we're getting a little bit less. We'll close that, we'll close this. Okay, there we go. So we can have our average throttle from our GoSetup, but we need to change that to a percentage. So we'll click on the throttle and then click the percent up here. And there's our average throttle per lap for the GoSetup. Now we're going to drag in standard setup as well. And it's not a sum, it's an average. So we'll say AVG throttle STD. Let's change all of these as well. Lap time delta. Lap time delta ms for milliseconds. And we'll say lap time go. Lap time STD. But we want to keep these in the same order. So standard go, and this is standard go. So we can always see what the standard ones are and what the go ones are. let's keep with this whole purple and orange theme right here in the grid as well. So what I'm going to do is for the standard one, I'm going to apply conditional formatting, and I'm going to change the background color to be very light orange. So if the value is not blank, I'm going to make the background a very, very light orange. Hit OK, and there we are. That's our lap time for standard. We're going to do the same thing for all the standards. So this standard right here, same thing. I'm going to say conditional formatting, background color. You could also do this to the font if you prefer. That's another thing you can do. Why is this saying... Okay, I want to do a rule, I guess. Oh, because that's text. Okay. I wish there was just a way to say everything. If the value is greater, I guess I could say if the value is greater than -9999 and less than 99999, so all values basically, then light orange. There we are. So now we have standard, and let's do the same thing for Go, just a very light purple. Background color, we're going to say if it's not blank, and a tiny light purple right here. And the same thing for our Go. Conditional formatting, background color. We'll have to do it as rules. And we'll have to say if the value is greater than -99999. There's our number. And less than 9999999. Then purple, the light purple. And there we are. We can now see it. The delta, that's an interesting one, right? Because what we can do is follow the same green and red that we did here. So let's find out. Now we're going to change the lap time delta color to be conditional formatting, background color. And we're going to say the same rule that we applied to the other one. We're going to look for the delta. And we're going to say if the delta, there's numbers, is greater than or equal to -999. Well, we can do 999, we can do 888, doesn't matter. And less than 0, that's red. And a new rule, and say if it's greater than 0 and less than 99999, then we make it a light green. Let's see if that worked. It sure did. Whenever it's less, we made it red. Whenever it's better, so this is 6 seconds better, and we made it green. We'll do the same thing very quickly for the milliseconds. And we'll use rules. We'll use this delta. And again, same thing, -99999 as a number, and less than 0, then it's red. If it new rule greater than 0, number, and less than 9999999, then green. And I wish the green color showed up because I'm going to be picking different color greens, unfortunately. There we are. So now we can instantly see whichever one's standard is the orange, whichever one's purple is the Go setup. And then we have the deltas. We know exactly which ones to look for, which laps we did well in. That way you can go back and watch your replays, and you can see, you can focus on the specific laps to see what the heck I did on lap 6 that caused me to have a 6-second advantage. That was pretty good regardless. So I would definitely want to see that. And let's see one more thing that we can use to fill up our grid. How about our temperatures? Nope. Average throttle, we already did that. I would use my positions if I could. How about brake? I guess our brake is fine. How much did we use our brake? So let's look for brake. Let's drag that in from our Go setup. And it's not a sum, it's an average. So average brake, and we have to change that to be a percentage. We'll do that. There we are. 11% brake was our average. And then that's our go, right? So we'll rename this to be AVG brake percent. Nope, percent with our go. We'll say average throttle percent. Let's rename that to be correct as well. Throttle percent. And our brake for this one as well. We're going to drag that in right before, right click and change it to average. It's already a percent here from our prior sessions. So AVG brake percent with the STD. We'll right click on this one and do the conditional formatting here. Background color. Actually, let's do font color for this one just so you can see what the font color looks like. So we'll do conditional formatting, font color. We'll apply the same rules, right? Oh no, this is everything. So we always wanted to show that color. So we'll say if it's greater than minus 9999999 and less than 9999999, then we want it to be orange. That doesn't look too good, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and just make that let's go ahead and make that black again. Oh, I know what we can do. We're gonna go ahead and right click on this standard one and remove the conditional formatting. Then we're gonna add data bars that are orange instead. So we'll say conditional formatting, data bars. And we will say the positive bar is orange. The negative bar is just going to be red. No, just white. We don't want it to show that way. All right. We can even show the bar only if we want to, but here we want to show everything. So there we go. Now we can kind of see the percentages that we were shown. And our average brake, conditional formatting, data bars, we want to have that be purple. So there's purple. This will be white. And hit OK. And now we can see, kind of as a mini graph, we can also see right here. That's pretty cool. So we're going to make this a little bit smaller because I want folks to be able to select a lap number right here. So I'm going to copy this visual because I like the way we styled it before. I'm going to paste it. Don't sync it. And I'm going to make sure that this visual uses the lap number from our shared or link datasets. Uh-oh, I haven't saved this recently, and I think Power BI wanted to like freeze. So I went into a bit of a panic. There we are. Okay, let's try to remove this. Now we should be able to search for our shared data set. Here it is right here. I'm going to change this lap to be the lap number from our shared data set. And we want our slicer settings to be, how many laps do we have? Like 7. So we'll say the layout is 5. Why is it showing so many laps? Did I add 10? Yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay. So let's do 4 rows of 3 columns. There we are. That looks okay. And we're going to make sure this is just says lap. Hit enter. And now we'll do some little tuning of our backgrounds. So we're going to change the visual here to say I want a background. So here's the effects. I'm just going to copy whatever background this has here. So we're just going to go here to this background, go to more colors, grab this hex code, and apply it here. We're going to apply this hex code to the effects background. Right. Actually, now that I borrowed it. Now it should have it, which is good. I want a visual border. I want the border to be the same color. And I want it rounded by 10 pixels. And we'll make it the same height. Same thing for these folks over here. We're going to go to effects, add a visual border, make that border this color, and add a background as well. Make the background the color. Same thing for this. I don't want to do like copying like the format painter because it might screw up the way we have these labels applied. So I do not want to do that at all. I just want to keep it just like this. All right, so visual border, we'll open that up, get the gray background as well. Here it is, gray, gray, gray. So these are all gray now. I will expand this to be the same height. And we actually need to make our visual borders rounded. We'll go to effects. We'll go to effects and say our visual border needs to be 10 pixels. You don't have to do this. I prefer to do it just because it's like a nice and softer look. We'll change this to 10 as well. Okay, and then let's extend this up a little bit so it's a little bit cleaner of spacing. Now this will shrink it a tiny bit so it's compatible with this one. And let's change these labels here. So we'll say lap. We'll say lap time delta. And we'll say delta MMSS. So here, when you hover over it, now you can see the delta in milliseconds. Here we can just say it's milliseconds. That way we know very clearly which one we're looking at. These labels look a little small, but I'm going to keep them that way. I think I'm liking how this is looking so far. I'm going to keep it that way. Here, we want to make sure that we apply the same filters that we did to this one. We only want to see the laps that were completed for both. So why don't I just change this to be is lap completed? Can I add a slicer to say is lap completed? Let's find out. If I do that to this page and I say yes, will it work? No. Sounds like we're keeping it like this. We'll just keep this, and if we want to focus on specific laps, like let's say laps 4 and 5, or if I see lap 2, 3, and 6 are the only ones that I gain time on, 2, 3, 6. And now we have just laps 2, 3, and 6. I can focus on those so I don't have to bother with anything else. That's just another way that you can view things. Okay, so here we can say comparison. And the great part is now you can go and apply all this logic to the rest of these. You can do it for the entire summary. You can do it for the temperatures as well. You can even switch back and forth between the two data sets all in the same report. Next time I'm going to be doing that as well. All right, so the only other thing we want to do is maybe put an indicator that we have our GoSetups versus our standard setups. So we're going to add a text box. And we're just going to say GoSetup versus a standard setup. Here, the GoSetup will make it purple. Actually, let's make the whole thing 20. Is that enough? Yeah. 20 is enough. So we'll say GoSetup, which is the purple one. We'll make the font color deep purple and bold. That looks good. And then our standard setup, we'll make it orange and bold. And then our verses, we're gonna say is red. and bold. Let's remove the background from this visual. And now we can move it right up here. Oh, I can barely see that in the gray, huh? Let's try something else. Let's try another color that'll help us. Maybe this one. Yeah, GoSetup versus standard. Then I'd have to change like everything to gold. I'm not gonna do that, but yeah, I'm not gonna do that right now. But hopefully, if you choose a different color other than this purple, you know what I can do is change this and then remove the background. So let's keep things nice and consistent. This is gonna be purple, but this right here, I'm just gonna make it a much softer shape. So we'll say style. Is it the style? Yeah, the color. Let's make it more transparent. So we'll do like 75. Yeah, there we are. So our shape is now 75% transparent, and that way you can still see everything. Here I can also add any other either cards or slicers with this empty space. But for now, what I'm going to do is just move these over. There we are. All right, so it looks like we are done. Again, this was a way for you to be able to compare two different setups at the same time in the same report, kind of overlaid each other. You don't want to be going back and forth between two reports when you want to compare setups. So instead, what we have is the ability to just look at the setups in one page so that strategists, or even just you, if you want to be your own strategist, they can look over this data and see what laps to focus on, what laps to watch again, what strategies or setups. If you want to put 3 setups together, you can do the same thing. If you want to put 4 setups, you can always have them here and just keep adding colors as you go. All right, so next time we're probably going to add some additional measures like temperatures, maybe make some graphs out of the throttle and brake differences that we spotted as well, these right here. And we'll just keep working at this report and keep building it out. I'm very happy with the progress we've made so far. I think we have 4 pages already. So let's just publish this out for now as a showcase that we can compare setups. So we'll go home, we'll click publish. And then we'll publish it to Data-Driven Sim Racing. Once that's published, we can actually go in right on the website and access it. And I'll take a look at this on my iPad or on my phone later to see if I can spot anything that I need to develop or progress on. And there we are. Now we have all pages available, the lap times, the temperatures and forces, the summary, and there's the comparison, which is, this is what I'm focusing on. This is what I want to start evaluating so I can better my lap times. I'm not doing a race today. I think I ran out of time. I'm kind of hungry and I want to go make some smash burgers for my daughter, my wife, and myself. So I hope you enjoyed this and I appreciate you sticking around. Next time we'll take a look at a few other measures that we can add. But until then, I hope you have a great weekend and see you next time.